Hi, everybody. It's Vivian Cobb here in Colorado Springs, and I want to welcome you back to our third edition of Women, Emotions, Identity, and Love. And today we're slanting towards love. And who doesn't love the subject of love? It's coming from a place of love, no matter whether it's a relationship with a significant other or your friends or your family. It all is a wonderful thing to be coming from a place of love. And I'm so excited that Gayla is going to give her perspective today on that subject. Just to go over the rules one more time, just really quickly, we're going to be respectful and kind to each other. We're not going to self-promote, and we're just going to have a great time learning. And please write your questions in the chat box if you have any questions that come up, and we will do our best to answer them and have a fun discussion around them. So, all right, girls, ready to go? And Gayla, I want to introduce Gayla, the Denver Love Coach, and here she is. Hi, Gayla.
Hi, everybody. I am so happy to be here today. Of course, it's one of my favorite topics. And it used to be one of my least favorite topics. So testament to the fact that dynamic around talking about love can really change. But I want to just have some fun, first of all. And I know I put this question out on Facebook yesterday, but I want you to type in the chat box what your favorite romantic movie is. And we were talking about that before we started, and it may be hard to pick, but just pick a movie that is romantic, it's about love, and put it in the chat box. And later we'll talk about your answers, and I'll tell you mine. And you can also put in, if you want to, you can put in why it's your favorite romantic movie. I know we got a few answers yesterday, and I put it out there again this morning, so maybe we got some more, so maybe Alex can check that. But anyway, I wanted to tell you again why the three of us decided to work on this project, and that is because we, in our discussions, really came to the conclusion that emotions, identity, and love really intersect. There's really an interconnection between those concepts. And what I really mean by that is when I think about emotions, and in my experience in coaching women in the past 10 years, our emotions can get us in a lot of trouble in our relationships, whether or not it's with family or with friends, or certainly with a romantic partner, a husband or wife. Our emotions, if we don't learn to handle them in an adult way, and if we just stuff them down over time, and we don't, as you say, Vivian, learn how to process them, learn from them, and move on from them, and have a healthy way of expressing our emotions, it can really come back to bite us in our most intimate relationships. And I know I certainly learned a lot of lessons about that the hard way. And one of the things that someone said, I don't remember who said it, and one of the things that I tell my clients is, you don't have to say everything you think. So just try that on. Sometimes, I know we've all met people who, if they're thinking something, it just comes right on out of their mouth. Well, I think we live in a world today where a lot of people would do well to zip it up a little bit. In fact, one of my favorite quotes, I'm kind of going to mess this up a little bit, but one of my favorite quotes is from Abraham Lincoln. And I said, this is maybe a little paraphrase, but he said something like, better to be thought ignorant than to open your mouth and remove all doubts. Is that a good one? So, and so my dear father used to say something that sounded kind of old-fashioned. When someone was talking about something they clearly don't know anything about or haven't researched and don't know the facts, he would say, he knows not whereof he speaks, which was a supreme insult. So anyway, that is a little snippet about emotions. And then to me, on another level, maybe even a little deeper, is if we don't know who we are in the world, or we lack self-awareness about how we're perceived by other people, about our identity and how we're presenting ourselves, if we really haven't given any thought to who do I really want to be in the world, our personal identity can get us in trouble, because we can have a perception of ourselves that is, again, lacking self-awareness about how we're perceived, or we can have a disconnect about how we think about ourselves in our identity as a, let's say, for example, a kind, loving wife and mother. And then on the other hand, when something doesn't go our way, we can act like a complete crazy person and speak harshly to one another, speak harshly to the one we love. And I know for myself in my current marriage, it's very clear to me and my husband right from the beginning, because we had issues with our former relationships, that we made an agreement we do not speak harshly to one another. Now, do we mess up on that? Oh, occasionally we have messed up on that. We have, because we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, and no relationship's perfect. So we need to learn to forgive each other for little mistakes. But if you have that as part of your identity, that no, I may be really irritated with my husband, but A, I don't say everything I think in the moment. B, I do not speak harshly to him because he is the love of my life. And again, you learn to bite the end of your tongue off. So if we manage those things, we can move on to the next level, which is really being successful in a love relationship. There's attracting a love relationship when we're talking about romantic love. And then there's being able to sustain it. And again, in my experience, I've met a lot of women who either cannot attract a relationship because of their behavior and their decisions that they make, or they're really great at attracting love relationships, but they cannot sustain one, again, because of their behavior and the decisions they make. And these things are all tied together. It's emotions, it's their identity in the world. And when we're in a relationship, sometimes things can happen. And sometimes we can get stuck, or sometimes something happens in the relationship to cause a very big rift in the relationship. And so those are the kinds of questions that I'm happy to take today. Any question about love, dating, men, marriage, how to sustain a relationship. And while you're thinking of a question that you might want to type in the chat box for us today, I'll just say that there was a pivotal question that I asked myself, which gave me the answers when I was stuck and I wasn't able to affect a change in my first marriage, even though I tried and tried and tried for years and years and years, and therapists and counselors and whatever, it just wasn't working. I was given this question, and I think it's a pivotal question if you're feeling at all stuck in your relationship or with a problem in your relationship, and that is, if nothing changes, what's this going to look like in 5 years? And I'll tell you, when I was asked that question, wow, the lights went on in my head. I knew I had been basically trying to fix something without the other person participating, because they just were not going to change anything and they didn't see any need to change anything. It became clear to me when I sort of looked ahead at 5 years, and I thought, wow, I'm suffering. I'm suffering here. I'm in pain. I'm in emotional pain. My physical health is being compromised because of the stress I'm feeling in this relationship. Something has to change. And for every different situation, of course, the answer can be different. We just have to make a plan. But if you ask yourself, if nothing changes, what's this going to look like in 5 years? It can be a wake-up call. And I mean, it certainly was for me. So while people are thinking of their questions, do we get any answers to our movie question?
We did. We did
okay.
Indeed. Ooh, is that the feedback you're talking about? I hear some feedback. Anyway, I just wanted to just quickly mention, kind of dovetail on what you said, Gayla, about the emotional part. And you're right, something really struck me when you were talking about how if we do not process our own emotions, then we are going to act out whatever that unprocessed emotion is towards the people we love because they are safe. In other words, and you're right, Gayla, it takes a huge conscious effort not to do that. For example, if you're angry and you haven't processed that anger, all of a sudden everything your spouse or maybe a close friend or something starts grinding on your nerves, and before you know it, you have exploded all over them. Even though they haven't changed, they're still doing exactly what they were doing before that you thought was cute before. But now you're like, it's on every frayed nerve. But that's about you. That's about your not dealing with how you're feeling, not communicating how you're feeling, and that builds and builds and builds until it's a powder cake. And my former husband, late husband, we had the same deal. And I think it's imperative in a relationship because we all need space to process our stuff. If we've had a bad day, we just need some time. Let's process what happened, why that's affecting me. It usually has something to do with something very old from way back. But to agree with your partner not to speak harshly. My husband in 10 years never yelled at me. He's the first man in my entire life that never yelled at me. And he used to say that. He used to say, you do not yell at the people you love. And I just loved that about him and that philosophy. Now I can be a yeller when I get revved up. And so I had to really work on that. That was hard for me, but it was a phenomenal thing to have in that to have in any relationship, really, to be calm and stay in the present and not spew your unresolved emotions on somebody else. How about you, Marianne? You got some thoughts? Sorry. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. And then everybody's not in tune with their emotions. And so I think to get in tune with your emotions and why you're feeling certain ways, it might go back to where you come from, to the past. So that's why I always say it's so important to get in touch with where you come from, where you are now, and where you want to be in the future. Because if you get angry for something, a small thing, and you might think to yourself, why am I getting angry? And it might stem back to something that you grew up with. Maybe your parents always yelled at you. Maybe they were always angry at you. And so if your husband or anybody's yelling at you, it might be a good thing to ask. Like, is that something that triggers you from the past? And that's why identity, it all, emotions, identity and love, that's why they're all connected. That's why the three of us are working together to figure these things out. You know where you come from, you know why you're acting a certain way, and when you know you're acting a certain way, you can have more productive relationships.
Right. We have a question, Miss Gayla. Can I give it to you?
Certainly.
When you're first dating, how long should you give it before you say it's not working without being too judgmental? That's a good one.
Yes, it is a good one. Of course, it really kind of depends on what's not working. If it's something like you're not sure that there's really a chemistry or an attraction, I encourage women to just go ahead and go on a few dates, because sometimes when you get to know a person, they become more attractive because you find out that you have a lot in common. And that's different than going out and being repulsed, so we say, by something in their physical, in their physical appearance. I mean, I did work with a woman once who was dating a man, and she said, "Oh my gosh, this man is like the perfect man for me on paper. And he has all of these qualities and he has all these attributes, and I feel really bad, but I don't like to cuddle with him because I don't like the way he smells." And so I have to say, that's not fixable. That's not fixable. If it's not about taking a shower, it's not fixable. And you just need to move on. I think you need to also, trust your instincts. Never hang out in a relationship that really isn't going forward, even in a slow way. If things aren't progressing, if you're not really getting to know each other, if you're not enjoying his company, it's better for you and it's better for that person if you just say, this isn't working out, and move on. The other thing I like to point out to women is when you hang on to a relationship that isn't working, it's an emotional block for you to meet the right person. And that may not seem to be the case, because sometimes women think, well, it's better if I'm out and I'm dating and I have somebody, while I'm waiting for the perfect one to come along. And I say, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's blocking your emotional space. It's blocking your energetic. It's taking your time. It's taking your energy. And when a man sees you out with somebody else, he's disinclined to pursue you, to walk up to you, to start a conversation with you. So you're blocking yourself on many levels. So I would really just think about, what is it? What is it? Is there, I can share with you that one of the things I wrote about in my book, and one of the things I talk with women about, is when there's a love relationship, we need to have connection on at least 4 different levels. And the first one is physical. You need to find him physically attractive at some point. Spiritual, there needs to be a spiritual connection. And even that doesn't mean religious necessarily. That just means the same views about maybe caring for the planet or things like that, or you at least need to be able to talk about that. You need to have an intellectual connection. You need to be able to have a conversation with this person on some intellectual level. And emotional, you need to have an emotional connection. So when all of those things work together, you have a great relationship. When any one of those things gets broken, or in the beginning, if you're dating, if it's not there, you need to really think about that. And can you develop that? Can you talk about that? But if it's not there, you're never going to have a balanced, really, really good, happy relationship.
Great. Let's go back to movies. We've got some people here that, let's see, we have When Harry Met Sally. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. Sleepless in Seattle. That's a good one. I can certainly relate to that one. Just Friends. And the reason for that one is because it's funny, and she loves the foundation of Best Friends, which you can't beat that.
Excellent.
We saw some on Facebook. I can't remember. Did you make note of the ones on Facebook we saw?
I think somebody said Serendipity, and I don't know. I'm terrible at remembering names of movies sometimes, so I don't know if I saw that or not. And I know there were a couple of votes for When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
And of course, I love that one as well. Marianne, did you have an answer to that question?
To what question?
The movie, the favorite movie.
Yes, When Harry Met Sally.
Okay. And what was yours, Vivian?
Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean,
I
like I said before, I have so many, but I really like that. I guess because Tom Hanks is a widower in that one, and I can relate to that level of loneliness and loss. Yeah, it's a real fairy tale movie.
well, who doesn't love a great fairy tale, right? Well, listen, this is a fun question, and I love talking about it. But I would say that I think most people pick a movie because we love happy endings in America, especially, don't we? We love to see it all work out. And and there are movies that are great love stories that don't necessarily work out. But I'll tell you that my favorite movie, which is silly and it's terrific. And my husband adores this movie with me. So we're so sappy. And anytime this movie comes on, we look at each other and laugh and say, are we going to watch this movie again? And if there's nothing else on, we just watch it again. And it's an Adam Sandler movie. It's called 50 First Dates.
Oh, yeah.
It's adorable, and it shows you the lengths that someone who is really in love will go to. And that's really what I like to teach women is if a man really loves you and cares for you, he will do a lot of things to add to your happiness. He will basically really put forth effort. And when you're, back to that question a few minutes ago, if somebody you're dating isn't putting in any effort, or if you are not even allowing them to, if you make all the plans, you make all the arrangements, you pick everything, you suggest everything, stop. You're dating. Let me tell you, he's going to put the most effort in when you're dating. And then you need to hold him to standards that you're not going to do everything. First of all, you're not going to make all the plans. You're not going to do all the work for the dates and just tell him, when to be there and when to show up. No, he has to put effort in, because a little secret that a lot of women don't know is that men really respect what they have to earn. They really care for what they have to earn, because men are raised to earn their way in the world. They have to earn a living. They have to earn their place in the company that they're working for, in the world. I mean, there's this whole pecking order thing that goes on with men. And so if you give him everything, he didn't have to earn it. You become devalued in a way. He has to earn your love and your respect, and he has to be a true partner for you. So if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to put a couple things out there to think about. Do we have another question?
We did have another movie, and that's You've Got Mail. So clearly, we all really love Tom Hanks.
Well, yeah.
Or we love Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan is
we love Meg Ryan.
She was phenomenal. Yeah, she was so adorable in that.
But I want to ask you, Gayla, I mean, what about when you are friends from the beginning? If you start out your relationship as friends from the beginning, is that more of something that will produce a better ending?
Well, I think it's a great basis for a love relationship, for sure. As long as you don't let that carry on so long that both people really have, as I say, put each other in the friend zone, and there's no way to sort of cross the bridge, into a romantic relationship, because I think you have to be careful with that. But with that said, my husband is my best friend. And so if you don't start out as best friends, you will develop that. That is a really solid basis for a relationship. Because when you're best friends, you don't keep secrets from each other. You tell each other everything. You don't have to wordsmith everything. You can just feel free to say, hey, I'm in a super bad mood right now. And maybe they'll say, well, what's up with that? And or you can say, I'm in a really bad mood. I just got off this phone call, or I just had this happen or that happen, because of course men want to make sure it's not them. if you say you're in a really bad mood, they might immediately think, ah, what did I do? So we don't want that to happen. But yeah, I think friendship can start. But again, I wouldn't let that go on for a huge amount of time, because I think two people who have been friends for a really long time don't necessarily know how to cross the bridge into romantic relationship, and then they can be worried about telling each other that they have romantic feelings for each other because they don't want to lose the friendship, so to speak. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, something I would like you all to really think about with respect to love, and I know we've talked about emotions and identity, but I would like to just kind of think about these three subjects. And then you can pop a question into the chat box about any of these. We can talk about any of these. But personal boundaries are super important for a successful love relationship, even if it's with family or friends, but certainly, definitely with a romantic relationship. So boundaries, so think about boundaries. You have any question about boundaries? The other thing I want you to think about is self-love. I just contributed to a book that is out called Radical Self-Love. I wrote 2 chapters, and I wrote a chapter, on the role of self-love in dating and marriage. And so it's very important, and certainly it's not selfish. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. And the other thing, which just went right out of my head, let me give me my piece of paper here. There were 3 things that I wanted to mention. Oh, choices. Yeah, choices. I think we talked just a little bit about choices, but when I really came to realize that I had a choice, yes, I chose to get married like a long time ago to my first husband. I made that choice, but then it came time for me to make a different choice, because this relationship was just not going to be sustainable. And I had to make a different choice. We didn't get a lot of choices when we were kids. Our parents made most of the choices for us. But when we become aware of ourselves and aware of our emotions, and maybe aware of why we act this way, or aware of why we've made certain decisions, to me, it was really empowering to know, okay, I'm an adult. And just because my parents had these beliefs that no matter what, unless he beat you to death, I guess, you can't get divorced, I had a choice to make if I was going to accept or reject that belief. And I ultimately rejected that belief, because I believe that we all have the right to be fulfilled and happy on this planet. And when I made the choice to choose myself and my own happiness over something that was just clearly not going to work anymore, then it was very empowering, and it allowed me to be who I really am, and it allowed me to be a force for good in the world. But I had to choose me first, and I think we had a little bit of a discussion about that. We're not here to serve the interest of anyone else above our own. We must choose ourselves first, because then we have a full cup from which we can help other people. But if I'm depleted, if I'm miserable, if I can't even function, if I'm wearing myself out physically, mentally, emotionally, I'm really not any good to anyone. And so it is so not a selfish act. In fact, it is a selfless act, really, to put yourself first and take care of yourself so that you have the capacity to be in a love relationship or marriage, or you have the capacity maybe to overlook your family's craziness, which maybe a lot of you can identify. Don't we all have a little crazy in our families that takes a little bit of effort and energy not to smack somebody up, when they're acting out. So I would never really do that, but I think about it. But mentally, so we have to take care of ourselves.
And I think that's a really good point, Gayla, about boundaries. The boundaries are not only boundaries we set for other people, but it's boundaries we set for ourselves, that we take care of ourselves, and that we figure out where the line is that we're willing to cross over for someone else, or where we have to learn to take care of ourselves. And the other thing that came to mind when you were talking was we have to teach people how to treat us. If you are submissive, or like you said, you do everything, you plan everything, and you might think that you're making yourself more desirable because you're this great person who just will do everything for the other person. But what you're teaching them is, oh, she'll do everything. I don't need to do anything. You know, and people do that when they volunteer. You know, they're the person that everybody goes to because they're the ones that going to get it done. And then you're right, you're depleted. You're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this. But it's really you not saying no. And you have taught everybody that you do too much, you're an overachiever, and you'll do it no matter what. And so you're gonna be the one they come to first. And at first that might build up your sense of self or your sense of worth, but then the flip side of that is you're gonna get completely burned out, worn out, and you're going to start what? You're going to start getting pissed off, and you're going to start, and your emotional self is going to really suffer. So you've got to set the boundaries for yourself as well as for the other people in your life.
Well, I want to address the boundary question. In actuality, we can only set a boundary for ourselves. We cannot set a boundary for someone else. Let me give you an example. Let's say that your neighbor is annoying, okay? So you don't go over to your neighbor's yard and put a fence around his yard and say, okay, you're annoying, so you stay in there. That's not how it works. If your neighbor's annoying and crossing your boundaries, you build a fence around your own yard so that you can stay in your own yard. So a boundary is for you, because we actually cannot create a boundary for someone else. You can only say what you are going to do. Like if you are dating someone and they are perpetually late, you can set a boundary at some point to say, you know what, I don't seem to be that important to you because you can't seem to be on time within a reasonable amount of time. This is like the fourth time that you've been significantly late for our date. And so the next time you do that, I'm going to do this. You're not telling them what to do. You're saying the next time that you're late for a date, I am not going to go out with you. So it's what you're going to do. Or if you have a cheating husband and you have accepted the fact that this has happened multiple times, it's maybe time for you to consider what your boundary is. You obviously can't affect his very poor behavior and his lack of integrity in your marriage. But you can say, if this happens one more time, you will no longer enjoy the benefits of this marriage. You don't have to say, if you don't have a plan yet, you don't have to say, I'm going to divorce you, I'm going to whatever. You can say you will not be living here until you figure out your crap. And this is what I'm going to do. I am going to live here by myself with the children, or I am going to live somewhere else. This is what I'm going to do, because you clearly don't value this relationship. So you must set a boundary for you instead of telling the other person how to act.
Right. Well, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, or it came across wrong. That's what I meant. I meant a boundary for my own, what I'm going to do for me.
Yes.
In reference to myself, like yes. Take care of myself. But when I mean set a boundary for other people, what I'm going to tolerate what another person is going to or not going to do in my life, which is what you just explained. So that's what I meant. Of course I can't. Of course I don't think for a minute you can control anybody else. Absolutely you cannot. You can only control how you feel, your own emotions, your own perceptions. I mean, yeah, that's the only control we have. So I'm sorry if I misspoke that.
No, I know that because you're a coach, so I know that you know.
Yeah.
But I have encountered so many women who try to tell other people what to do.
Oh, yeah, that's not what I
when
meant.
this happens, you will do this and you will do that and you will do, no, just say, this is what I'm going to do when you give me this behavior again. This is what I am going to do. And make sure it's something that you can do, because you can pack your suitcase and leave.
Gayla,
so.
What about strength? What would you say if you don't feel strong enough to do it? What if you don't are secure enough in your own self to do it?
I would say I would make that, make becoming a strong person, a resilient person, a person who values and loves yourself. Make that your priority. Forget about the other person and the other stuff for now. Focus on you. I mean, that's really what I had to do. I was pretty beat down physically, emotionally, mentally, with all of the horrible behaviors that I had to put up with and the lack of concern and consideration that I had experienced for way too long. I began with myself, and I started taking care of me, and I started eating better, and I started exercising just to feel physically better. I started distancing myself by going out for walks and clearing my head. I learned to meditate. And above all, I got help. I mean, I had a coach. I mean, I had people in my life who were there for me. I had friends. I began to read really great, oh my gosh, there's so many great personal growth books out there. I began to read Wayne Dyer, and particularly there's a spiritual solution for every problem. And I really began to realize I am an outpicturing of the divine. That really made sense to me. I am an outpicturing of the divine. Every human being is. And when we realize who we are, this is who I am. I'm important. I'm important.
Because what we're kind of as women many times, as mother, as wives, what we many times, we take care of everybody. Our whole life we take care of everybody, and then when we finally say no, I'm going to take care of me, then the selfish, we're like, I can't be that selfish. I can't. That's bad. That's bad to be that selfish. So it takes another kind of we kind of have to, that's something we also have to work at,
We do.
the guilt.
It's a process, and I would say to anybody, change happens incrementally. It just doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it took me a long time, and it takes everybody a long time. And I think when real change happens, when you look back at any real change, it can happen in little tiny baby steps, good change. I mean, sometimes change is thrust on us, when we don't really think very highly of this change because our partner may have done something to betray our trust. Our partner may have changed in ways that we find unacceptable. Change is very challenging, but we need to give ourselves a break. Nobody's perfect. Oh my gosh, I'm not perfect. And my husband's not perfect. But we still set standards and we still try. And I think in this sort of time that we're in, I think it's really hard. I mean, I've had a lot of missteps and goals that I've had just because the world is a tough place to be now. So for a woman who's had an issue with like that, Marianne, I say, give yourself time. Do something little for yourself. Mm-hmm. Say, I'm going to take a bath now. I'm going to take a hot bubble bath. Don't anybody bother me right now, because that's what I'm going to do. And you're not asking their permission, or I'm going to go for a walk. Or, I mean, if you're a single woman and you're feeling down and you're lonely and you don't have a date and you love flowers, for goodness sakes, go buy yourself some flowers, and treat yourself. Until you realize who you are, that you're a truly special creation on this planet, that you're meant to be here and you are meant to fill up your cup so that you can be a joy and a light to other people, it's hard to make a change until you really get that you're valuable. And sometimes you need somebody else to hold your hand in that process.
Absolutely. And, when you start feeling those feelings of guilt and those kinds of things, that's when you have to do an assessment of why you're feeling that way and dive into your emotions and not feel guilty, but embrace whatever the fear or the shame or whatever it is you're feeling. That process of going through that is kind of the emotional equivalent of starting to exercise. And I remember when I was in a bad my first marriage was not so great, and the more I exercised physically, if you can feel physically strong, it really helps you to feel emotionally strong. It sort of, makes you kind of feel like a warrior. The stronger that you can build yourself up. So I think exercise has so many benefits on so many levels, but that's certainly one of them. Psychologically, just feeling stronger helps you feel stronger emotionally. But you're right, Marianne, you've got to deal with why you're feeling those feelings and process them so you can get past them and you can move forward to becoming a stronger person in your psyche so that you can make good decisions. And that's why we're all intertwined here. Because It affects your identity, it affects your relationships, it affects everything across the board. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And just remember, you love being around people that are calm and centered and have some happiness and have a smile. We all love being around people like that. So you must strive to be one of those folks. And please give yourself a break. Please just take baby steps. And I think it's what you just said, Vivian, is so important. When you feel physically good and strong, you can go there to feel mentally and emotionally stronger. But when you physically feel weak and down or sick or in pain, those things really affect your psyche. They affect your emotional health. And there's no way around that. So if anyone, has an illness or has been ill, we've all experienced things in our lives, do what you can to strengthen your body. And then it strengthens your mind.
Absolutely. Well, we have just a couple more minutes here. So any closing thoughts?
I would just like to say that anybody out there who feels like they aren't loved or are not worthy of an amazing, wonderful, supportive love relationship, please know that you are worthy of the great love story, your own love story, and you can absolutely have it. There is no doubt in my mind that when we desire something, that the universe conspires with us in order to give it to us. We just must focus on what we do want, not what we do not have. And that's the law of attraction. I would encourage anyone to study the law of attraction. You must focus mentally and emotionally on what you do want and forget all about the stuff that maybe is in your space that you don't want. Just stop focusing on it unnecessarily. Of course, from time to time, we have to deal with stuff like that. But put your mind, put your focus, put your energy, put your emotions around what you do want. Imagine yourself in an amazing love relationship. I know I did that. I didn't even think it was possible. I was so miserable in my first marriage. I thought, oh my gosh, can I please get out of this? I will never get married again. I actually told people that. I told people that. And then I just worked on myself and I got stronger and I know in my heart, I was painting these little, I call them butterfly thoughts about what I wanted to be really loved and cherished and adored. And it didn't happen overnight, but it happened.
That's
so
awesome.
You are worthy. You are worthy.
Any last comments, Miss Marianne?
No, again, like what you said earlier, Vivian and Gayla, the three of us working together just to have that love relationship is, to figure out who you are, find out where you come from, where you are now, where you want to be in the future, and figure out your emotions. And then, like Gayla is saying, love and the respect for yourself will bring will bring the love that you are deserving of.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to be doing this again, everybody, and thank you for the ladies who joined us a little bit later, and we will send you the recording so that you can see the entire thing. We are going to do this again next week at 10 o'clock. We're going to keep going. We've had such an incredible response, and we're excited to be able to bring some value to your lives. And all of us, as you know, are coaches, and we each have our own programs, and we can definitely help you if you want to be more, go deeper in any one of these. We are working to put together a workshop in 2021. Hopefully by then we'll be able to congregate again. So we're really excited about that. We've started processing, getting that together. And we will definitely, oh, thank you for the applause, Tara. We will definitely let you know as we get further along in that creation. I know that everybody's getting really tired of Zoom and webinars and being online. We spend hours and hours a day now having to do that, some of us all day long because of our work and whatever. But this is the only way we can think of to come to you, and we're recording it so you can listen to it. But we would love your feedback. If you have any ideas of maybe a different time that would work better, a different day, we are certainly open to your suggestions. We're here to serve you, and we want you to know that, because you are deserving of this community of support. That's why we started it. We want to be here for each other, especially during these very, very difficult times in our culture and our global community. And it's nice to have the company of women. We are nurturers, and we love to help each other, and that's what we're here for. So please post on Facebook and tell your friends to come join us or to listen to the replay. We love any kind of feedback. And please, if you have questions about any of these topics, don't hesitate to ask, and we will do our best to answer your questions and be here for you in any way we can. So that's wrapping it up for this week, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.